Hi, everybody. Leanne Holitza and Stephanie Soder here from the Healing Studio. We're doing our kind of monthly forecast, energetic forecast to tell you kind of what we're noticing. Um, I will start off by saying, as we're recording this, today is a pretty kind of particularly rough day. There's an eclipse, partial eclipse tomorrow on a new moon, also a little bit extra. So just kind of keeping a gentle pace for yourself this week is really important. But Stephanie and I were just talking about how we feel like we're like in a time of big change, but it's like such a big change, we actually have no idea what's coming.
Yeah,
So I don't know,
exactly.
Stephanie, if you want to speak to what you've been hearing a little bit.
Well, a lot of people I see are trying to figure out what's going on and telling me like I can't really tell. I don't understand what my guides are saying. And the big message really is you don't know what you don't know and expect the unexpected. And the only thing I can say that is our work to do right now is to work on our inner selves. Eclipses are all about shadows, and this eclipse in Libra is all about justice. So when you're looking at what conflicts you've had in your life, where can you look at what's yours? Where can you look at like this was my part in it, and this is the part of me that I can heal? Because basically the only thing we have control over right now is this present moment, and what can we heal in ourselves.
Yeah, and I mean, just speaking to that too, one of the messages that kind of comes through is just holding the light, holding space, don't get afraid. That's why doing your inner work matters because whatever triggers you or whatever brings you to kind of like, oh no, is
Right.
is where to work. I mean, I can tell you right now, for me, I'm seeing a lot of people just trying to get to the end of certain conflicts and personal conflicts, world conflicts, all the things, and feeling like it's never going to end and feeling very like overwhelmed by that, but that all parties involved really desire it to end because who likes conflict, right? So
Yeah,
um
yeah, exactly.
yeah, and I mean, so the message has been to those people who are trying to get through that conflict is to shine your light, take care of yourself.
Yes. Well,
um
and that's where the inner work comes in so important, is because especially as light workers and as sensitive and empathic people, the more that we heal our own selves, our own inner work, then we can expand our light brighter to hold space for everyone else. But
right.
right now, it's like right now a lot of the message that I'm getting is like pause.
Yeah.
Pause, don't take a lot of action, don't try to make a lot of changes, just pause, because there may be things coming in that you just don't know what's coming in or why.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and I think that there's, a lot of room right now for the transformation to only be known to you. Too sometimes, the guides are saying, "Don't," you know, you can plant a watermelon seed and you can say that that's a watermelon, but that's not a watermelon yet. It's a watermelon potential. And so kind of waiting until the watermelon starts to come to fruition before you tell everyone else what you're doing. Sometimes keep it close to your chest and just do it. And then when it gets closer to, okay, this is actually happening and then you can start telling the world about it. But I get that if we speak too quickly in the cycle of creation, sometimes we define it too quickly and it's trying to co-create with us and become something else. Maybe it's a cantaloupe watermelon. I don't know, but it's basically it's like also just don't you don't have to go around explaining to everybody what transformations you're making. Right now, it's just you can just let the change happen.
Well, and that's one of the laws of manifestation, which is part of creation, is let the universe take care of the hows. So you're planting a watermelon seed, but are you going to get one big watermelon or seven tiny watermelons? Like, you don't know what's going to come out of this watermelon seed, like you said.
Mhm.
So don't worry about the hows. Don't worry about how this is all going to go. Just let it go. Let it bloom and blossom and fruit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and our influences matter with each other, just trying to be encouraging if you're noticing that the people around you are kind of needing extra love or support. It's, encouraging them to get that self-care time, encouraging them to, find their place in, comfort. Because when we're going through change, sometimes we do need to rest. We can't just run the marathon straight through. We have to stop for a second, drink some water.
Take a nap.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And for those of you who have been kind of in service work, um, we have noticed a lot of slowing down, like a lot of that there is more time for us to work on ourselves than there is time for us to work on you. And I think that's intentional because I think the work that we need to do on ourselves is really important. Um, because once we, um, you know, do that work on ourselves, we're way more prepared to hold space for everybody else. So if you're feeling like you've been on pause for a bit, don't worry. It might just mean that you're getting the rest before it's time to go again. So,
And that's so that brings up one really big word. Everything we've talked about is trust.
mhm,
Trust.
yeah. And trust and surrender too. What you're saying about the watermelon, you don't know if you're going to get one big one or a bunch of little ones or whatever. The universe does have to have its place in your manifestation space. So, um, yeah, and that being said, going into October, um, we are looking at energies that are gonna be a little bit calmer, but also, like, promising to be kind of a little bit pushy. I think if you look at the geopolitical situation with the world, there's some that is influencing a lot of our minds and spirits. So, and so just taking care of yourself during that, whether you pay attention to that world or not, it's going to impact you because other people around you are paying attention to it. And they're getting impacted. The other thing too is just anytime we're coming to like a change of season, if you live somewhere where there's seasons happening, that can impact, how you're feeling, how your emotions are. A lot of people actually have told me that fall is a hard time for them. And, it's signifies endings and things like that. So just being gentle with yourself in that space as well.
Yeah.
Um, so just out of curiosity, I know you've been working with the Akashic Records. Any hints from the Akashic Records on what's going on?
Well, that's the thing is we keep wanting to know what's going to happen next.
Oh, yeah.
And so the Akashic Records keep saying, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And expect the unexpected and surrender and trust. And the big message, though, really that I keep getting for myself, which I think usually translates to everyone else, because I've noticed that I kind of get the message a little bit before I see this coming up for everyone else is everything is going to be okay. Everything is going like trust and surrender, and it's all coming together in ways that we don't know how it's going to come together.
Yeah, I love the everything's gonna be okay, and we are like humans going, "When and how and what does okay even mean?" I mean, that's where we just keep trying to get the answers that aren't there. The Light Council has been for years now trying to really get us to own our thoughts and to take
Yeah.
responsibility for how we think about things.
Yeah.
And I work very closely with that, and I work on other people's energies on that, and I work on myself on that, and I still get tripped up when I see something going on. So, working with those triggers gently.
Yes, that's what I
Neutral.
was about to say is, I'm noticing when people get a little bit bitey, people are reacting a little stronger than they usually do to those little crunchy conversational pieces. And so just being kind, coming back, doing reparation for the conversation and saying, okay, well, maybe I overreacted to your little bitey comment, or whatever. But
Yeah,
just noticing that's part of the shadow work is noticing like, yeah, when somebody bites, it hurts, and we can, respond to it and say, hey, that was kind of crunchy. But if we overreact and go, hey, I'm going to bite you back, that's where we want to do the shadow work and say, okay, maybe that's not the way we want to handle things. So that's where
yeah.
being kind comes in.
Right, right. Well, and it's, I'm finding too that there's a little bit of extra being impacted by other people not taking responsibility for themselves,
Yeah.
and then that kind of impacting you. So it's really important time to not necessarily get resentful and do it for that other person, but instead to just be like, yeah, that's yours. I can't. I know I'm impacted by the fact that you just threw that giant bag of fast food out your window, but
That
that's yours to
that
pick up.
reminds me of the funniest story that I had a client a long time ago, and her therapist taught her, every time her husband comes at her with something, bitey or whatever that's not hers, to hand him a marble, to like literally give it back to him, like this is yours. And and then she'd get the marble back later in the day. But so one day she was just so frustrated with all of it that he was like, biting, commenting, whatever. And she took the whole bag of marbles and threw it at him. This is all yours. And then they both just started cracking up. And that kind of was a breakthrough for them. But, like we
Yeah,
don't
I
have
mean,
to throw the whole
it is okay to not pick up the other end of those conflicts. It is okay to say, I don't have to necessarily intervene because you guys are doing something. I mean, this is hard. This is easier said than done. When if there's some fight happening where I live with two people that I don't, I'm not involved in the fight, but I'm there and they're like breaking my furniture or something. Obviously, I would want to step in and say, not here. That's not okay. And that might be your part to do, right? That is
yeah.
where you say that I'm also here and this is my boundary,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, if you wanna choose to behave that way, get away from me, that kind of thing.
Right. Right.
So that would be, what's yours to do is to set your boundary, not this can't happen around me. I'm not gonna put up with this around me.
Right.
Um, we
And
are having trouble
that
finding our voice
saying that your boundary doesn't have to be an electric fence, just a gentle light all the way around you that says, my space is sacred, and just keeping your space sacred, like keeping your energy high, noticing when things come up, and just keeping your boundaries strong but gentle
Yep, yeah.
and kind.
Right. So, we are interested to hear from you guys about whether or not you want what do you want to hear from us when you're watching this, either if you're watching it live or you're watching it later. We were just discussing before we jumped on, like, is this something that you guys are finding value in? And if you are, let us know so we'll keep doing it. And if there's stuff you want, you're like, gosh, I wish they would have talked about this, let us know that too, because we definitely will be happy to add that into the conversation. The reason we're even doing this is because we both have an interesting seat at the table with life, where we're energy healers. We help individuals sing, with their problems and their issues, and we also have a view of kind of more of a collective energy as well. So we kind of have this unique way of getting to see the world that maybe isn't just hanging out for everyone to see. So, and I think it's useful to know. I mean, it's kind of like, if your plumbing was going out and you didn't know it, but your plumber friend comes over and goes, "Hey, did you know that there's about to be a big leak?" Right? Like you're like, "Oh, thanks for letting me know. I can take care of it." Right? It's not that we're coming on here to try to, do any kind of, wow, the world's on fire or anything like that. It's more just like we're just trying to support you guys so that you know how to approach what you're doing energetically, and get help when you need it too.
Absolutely. And maybe we can just once a week add in a little tip, like here's how to throw down a grounding cord, or here's how to put that bubble of protection around yourself, so people have a tool to take with them.
Which, by the way, your energy should be arm's length around you in all directions at all times, whenever you possibly can. Just consciously pushing it out so that you can have that space that you need. Don't worry about bumping into your neighbors with their bubbles. Everybody can have their space. When you're super sucked in, the world feels like it's hitting you in the face really close in. But when you push it out, you get a little bit more time to respond calmly, not necessarily with your triggers. So, all right, you guys, I think that's it from us right now. Like I said, let us know if there's other things you want to hear from us. Go be amazing.
Bye.
Bye.